He didn't even call me. Not after the deployments, the surgeries, the years I spent dodging bullets and burying brothers. Just one message from my father blinking on my screen. Don't bother coming this Christmas. We've decided it's best if you stay away. No, how are you? No, we miss you. Just a text that read like a severance letter from the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. My name is Rachel Monroe, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever walked through hell only to come home and realize your family locked the door behind them? The military taught me how to switch off emotions, but that message, that one hit harder than any mortar. Mom didn't reply. My brother didn't reach out. It was like they'd all silently agreed. Rachel was no longer welcome. I sat alone in my one-bedroom apartment in Fayetteville, blinking at the cheap Christmas lights I'd taped across my window, wondering what I'd done to deserve this kind of cold. I typed one word back. Fine, and I meant it. Not the kind of fine that hopes someone asks again. This was the last chance kind. The you won't get another shot to hurt me kind. I shut the laptop, deleted the airline ticket I'd bought 3 weeks earlier, poured myself a glass of red and toasted the empty air. To family. 5 days later, I woke up to 10 missed calls. 1 from my brother, 1 from my dad, 4 from my mom, and 1 from their lawyer. That last one? That made my heart pause. Because by then, it was already too late to undo what I'd started. Too late to unsend what I'd mailed. Too late to unwrite the letter. They thought I'd come crawling back like always, loyal, forgiving, starving for scraps of their affection. But I wasn't the girl who left. I came back in a different kind of armor. And they were about to learn exactly how dangerous a daughter becomes when she stops trying to earn her father's love. Let me take you back, before the silence, before the message, before the betrayal that hardened me. I was 18 when I enlisted. Dad didn't hug me at graduation, just muttered, "Try not to embarrass yourself out there." That was his version of love, criticism masked as advice. But I didn't join to make him proud. I joined because I needed to believe I was worth something. Because home never felt safe. Not with the way he looked at me, like I was some burden he never asked for. When I made sergeant, I flew home that Christmas, praying for some sign of acknowledgement. Instead, he handed me a shovel before I even got my boots off. No congratulations. No, we're proud of you. Just grab a coat. Mom? She was a ghost of the mother I needed, always wringing her hands, whispering, "Just don't." Make him angry. And my brother Tyler, he became Dad's shadow. Learned early that siding with him meant survival. Still, I played the good soldier. Called every birthday. Sent flowers for anniversaries. Mailed checks when the roof leaked. Or the car died. They never asked where the money came from. Never asked what it cost me. They just cashed the checks and sent back the occasional emoji, if that. But every year, I hoped. Hoped that maybe this Christmas I'd finally belong. That I'd sit at the table because they wanted me there, not out of duty. This year, I had different plans. I was finally done with service. I had my discharge papers, a modest pension, and a tired heart. All I wanted was to come home. Bake cookies with Mom. Hear about Tyler's new job. Maybe, just maybe, get a pat on the back from Dad. Instead, I got that message. So I set my plan in motion, because 5 years ago, during a rare leave, Dad had asked me to co-sign a second mortgage on the house. I was barely 25. He said it was just a formality, a technicality. I was young, worn out, desperate to matter, so I signed. Didn't read a word. Big mistake, for them, because now I own 51% of that house. They didn't know it yet, but they would, very soon. The irony? I'd completely forgotten about it. Until after that message, the one that froze something deep inside me. I went digging through old military email archives just to distract myself. And there it was. A digital copy of the co-signing agreement, signed by him, signed by me, stamped, witnessed, legal. I scrolled slower this time. And there, buried in legalese, it whispered, "In the event of primary borrower default or voluntary transfer, the co-signer assumes controlling interest over the property until loan maturity." Controlling. Interest. I sat back, stunned. While he was cutting me off, he forgot that on paper I wasn't just his daughter, I was the majority owner. He needed me back then because of his weak credit. I signed thinking it meant he finally saw me. But now, it meant I legally owned the thing he loved most. His pride, his legacy, his house. The same house he told me I wasn't welcome in. Oh, the justice was thick enough to sip. That night I called a real estate lawyer, a specialist I'd met during a Tampa-based seminar. Hypothetically, I asked, what happens if a co-signer holds majority interest and the borrower tells her not to come home anymore? There was a pause, then a laugh. She can take control, they said. And there's nothing they can do. I didn't say a word to my family. Instead, I wrote a letter. Not dramatic, just precise, calm, legal. Effective immediately, I will be exercising my controlling interest as co-signer and legal partial owner of the property at 12 Windmere Lane. All rights and responsibilities will now go through counsel. You will be contacted shortly. I mailed it certified, old school, intentional. Let them open it together. Let them feel it. After sending the letter, I booked myself a quiet cabin in the Smoky Mountains for Christmas. No tree, no ornaments, just snow falling softly outside, the fireplace crackling, and my phone turned off. I didn't want drama. I wanted silence, the kind no one could take from me. 5 days later, I turned my phone back on. 10 missed calls, 1 from a lawyer. I smiled, not out of revenge, but out of clarity. For the first time in my life, I didn't need their permission to come home, because they were living in a house that legally belonged to me. Tyler called first. Rach, what the hell is this? Dad's losing it. Talking about lawyers, eviction notices. What are you doing? I sipped my coffee and stared out at the snowy hills. I'm executing my rights, I said calmly. The same way Dad executed his right to tell me not to come home. You're seriously going to kick them out over a text? No, Tyler, I said evenly. I'm not kicking them out yet. I let that hang in the air. He sputtered. Come on, it's Dad, you know how he is. Yes, I said. I do. That's exactly why I'm doing this. Because here's the thing. Sometimes the people who hurt you most count on your silence. They count on your loyalty, your hope for crumbs. But I didn't need crumbs anymore. I had a contract, and for the first time in my life, I had power. The you. Next call came from their lawyer, a man named Harold Wells. He tried to sound casual, but I could hear the panic in his voice. Miss Monroe, I'm sure there's been some sort of misunderstanding. Your letter arrived rather abruptly and, understandably, caused a bit of alarm. I cut him off. There's no misunderstanding, Mr. Wells. The documents are valid. I have the original. I've reviewed the terms with my counsel. I am invoking control. A beat of silence. Then, well, I'm sure we can work something out. Perhaps a buyout or a reassignment of the note. That's when it clicked. Dad had defaulted. Again. Probably assumed the bank would show mercy. But now? Now he wasn't dealing with a bank. He was dealing with me. I leaned back and whispered, I'm open to discussion, but the first condition is that he calls me himself. Not through you. Not through Tyler. I want him to ask. Harold went quiet. He knew exactly what I was doing. This wasn't just about the house. It was about acknowledgement. I hung up and looked around the cabin. No stockings, no cinnamon-scented candles, no holiday ham. But there was peace. And that peace? I'd earned it, with scars, with silence, with service. They didn't know it yet, but I was done being the soldier daughter they could ignore. Now I was the landlord. And Christmas was about to get very, very uncomfortable back home. Christmas morning. The next call came from Mom. Rachel, she whispered, her voice trembling like a kettle on the verge of boil. Please, don't do this. Your father's furious. He hasn't slept. Tyler's barely speaking. Can't we just move past it? Move past it? I almost laughed. Mom, I said gently, do you remember what Dad texted me? Silence. He told me not to come home for Christmas. Not this year. Not next. He said I wasn't welcome anymore. Do you know what that does to someone who's been deployed for nearly a decade? Who sent checks from war zones? Who never missed a call or a birthday or a damn holiday card? Still silence. I was in a desert on my 26th birthday. Got ambushed outside Kabul. I called you after I made it out alive. Do you remember what you said? I don't, she whispered. You said, well, I'm glad you're safe, but don't talk about that around your father. It makes him anxious. And there it was. The truth they all danced around. I wasn't their daughter. I was their inconvenience. A ghost they preferred only when I was silent, invisible. Mom, I said softly, I'm not doing this out of anger. I'm doing it because I finally realized I was never going to be welcomed back. Unless I brought something to the table. She sobbed then. Raw, helpless sobs, begging me to reconsider. But I didn't cave. Not this time. What they didn't know was that the paperwork had already been filed. Notice of possession change, scheduled for delivery that afternoon. And the cherry on top? I'd hired a property management company, run by a veteran buddy of mine, to take over operations. They'd be arriving the next morning for a formal inspection. Not to evict. Not yet. Just to let them know. This wasn't their home anymore. That afternoon, I sat by the fire, wrapped in a thick sweater, and watched the flames dance. No gifts, no family. But there was something better than any holiday carol: control. I didn't burn down their world out of vengeance. I just reminded them whose name was on the deed. This year, Christmas belonged to me. Around 4 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was the property manager. Hey, Rach, we did the walkthrough. Your folks weren't exactly thrilled to see us, but we kept it civil, just like you said. How bad is it? I asked. He exhaled. Cosmetically? Not terrible. But structurally? Leaks in the basement? Unfinished attic reno? Mold under the windows? And get this, 2 of the bedrooms have tenants. College kids, sublets maybe. I froze. They rented out the rooms? Looks like it. Cash deals. No paper trail. That was it. The final betrayal. They hadn't just cut me out of their lives. They turned my legal property into a side hustle, using my name to buy the house, then filling it with strangers, while texting me that I wasn't welcome. My stomach twisted. Not from anger, from insult. That night, I drafted a second letter. This time it wasn't polite. Effective January 2nd. You are hereby given formal 30-day notice of management transition and possible termination of residency. Your sublease agreements are illegal. Rent collection is suspended. This property is now under formal investigation for code violations. All communication must go through legal counsel. I signed it with my full name and date, and for the first time in my life, I didn't flinch. He didn't even call. Not after the deployments, the surgeries, the funerals for brothers in arms I still see in dreams. Just one message from my father. Don't bother coming this Christmas. We've decided it's best you stay away. No. How are you? No, we miss you. Just a text that read like a corporate severance notice from people who once swore they'd love me unconditionally. My name is Rachel Monroe, and wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever walked through hell only to find the door locked when you came home? The military taught me how to shut down my emotions. But that message, it hit harder than a mortar blast. Mom didn't say a word. Neither did my brother. Like they all quietly agreed that cutting me off before the holidays was easier than facing whatever I'd become. I sat in my tiny one-bedroom in Fayetteville, blinking Christmas lights flickering like a cruel joke. I typed back one word. Fine. Not the fine that begs someone to ask again. The final kind. The you won't get another chance kind. I closed my laptop, deleted the flight I'd booked 3 weeks ago, poured a glass of red and raised it to the empty air. To family, I whispered. 5 days later, I woke up to 10 missed calls. 1 from my brother, 1 from my dad, 4 from Mom, and 1 from a lawyer. That's the one that told me they finally understood. But it was already too late. Because while they were busy writing me off, I'd already mailed the letter. They thought I'd come back like always, loyal, eager, grateful for scraps. But this time I came back armored in truth. And they were about to find out what happens when a daughter stops begging for love and takes back what's hers. Let me rewind. I was 18 when I enlisted. Dad didn't hug me at graduation. Just muttered, "Try not to embarrass yourself out there." His love language? Criticism disguised as concern. I didn't enlist for him. I did it to feel like I mattered. When I made sergeant, I flew home for Christmas, hoping for something. A nod, a "we're proud." Instead, he handed me a shovel. "Driveway's buried," he said. "Grab a coat. No welcome home. Just work." Mom was a whisper of the woman I needed, wringing her hands and murmuring, "Don't upset him." And Tyler, my brother? He learned early. Siding with Dad kept the peace. He wore that loyalty like a second skin. Still, I played the good soldier. Called every birthday. Sent flowers. Mailed checks when the roof leaked or the car broke down. They never asked where it came from. Never asked what it cost. Just cashed the money. Sometimes sent a thumbs-up emoji. Sometimes not even that. And still, I hoped. Every year, I dreamed of one Christmas where I wasn't a guest in my own family. One holiday where my place at the table wasn't an obligation, but a welcome. This year, I had different plans. I was done with service. I had my discharge papers, a modest pension, and a heart that had seen enough. I just wanted to come home. Bake cookies with Mom, hear Tyler brag about his job. Maybe get a pat on the back from Dad. Instead, I got that text. So I set my own plan in motion. See, 5 years ago, during one of my rare leaves, Dad asked me to co-sign a second mortgage on the house. "It's just paperwork," he said. "Technicality. You'd be doing me a favor." I was 25, in uniform, exhausted, desperate for his approval. So I signed. I'd forgotten about it, until that text. Until that ache made me dig through old military email archives looking for distraction. And there it was, a PDF of the co-signed mortgage, signed by him, signed by me, stamped, witnessed, legal. I clicked through it slowly, reading what I never saw the first time. In the event of borrower default or voluntary transfer, the cosigner assumes controlling interest over the property until loan maturity. Controlling interest. I sat back, stunned. While he was so busy cutting me off, he'd forgotten. On paper, I wasn't just his daughter. I was the majority owner of the house. The house he told me I wasn't welcome in. I owned it. I called a real estate lawyer I'd met on base in Tampa. Hypothetically, I asked, what happens when a cosigner has majority interest and the borrower says she's not welcome anymore? He paused, then chuckled. She takes the house. I didn't reply to my family. Instead, I drafted a letter. Polite, calm, formal. Effective immediately, I will be exercising my controlling interest as cosigner and legal partial owner of the property at 12 Windmere Lane. All legal rights and responsibilities will be handled through counsel. You will be contacted shortly. Certified mail, no email. I wanted them to open it together, and I wanted them to feel it.